Hello, I'm Christian from Human Risk, and if you work in compliance or any other bureaucratic function and you want to be seen to be helpful but actually be as obstructive as possible, then this is the video for you, because I have found the perfect case study that we can learn from to get best business practices for being obstructive. And that case study comes from the Netherlands, where BBC correspondent Anna Holligan is based. And Anna tweeted the picture of this poster that appears at Rotterdam station. And the poster is targeting Ukrainian refugees in their hour of need who may be trying to get to the UK. And this is a masterclass in how to look like you're being helpful, but be as obstructive as possible. So let's put ourselves in the shoes of a Ukrainian refugee who comes across this sign. We've made it this far, and now we're going to read and find out what we're doing. Now, the first impression the sign gives is very positive, right? It's in the colors of the Ukrainian flag, so it's designed to appeal to me. And yet, the first thing I notice is that it is in English. So if English is not a language I particularly do well, I know that they haven't put it in Ukrainian. There is a real risk if you put the sign in Ukrainian that it would feel a bit too welcoming. So let's assume that I can actually read it, and I go on and I read. The first thing I see is that I need to have a visa. That sounds particularly threatening, especially as I know that other countries in Europe aren't requiring it. So there's already a barrier, quite literally, to me entering the UK. But even let's assume that I'm comfortable with the idea of going to get a visa. How do I go about doing that? Well, before I can get a visa, I need to make an online application. And this is the first bit of genius that might not be immediately obvious, because if you have an online application in your process, it sounds like it's very slick. After all, we all know websites that work really well. But equally, we've all seen websites that are appalling, that crash, that can drag you into some sort of Kafkaesque loop, or that can ask you questions that you're incapable of answering so that you don't get to the end of the process. So an online application process looks really good, but is actually potentially super inefficient if you design it in the right way. So we've done that, and then the next thing we need to do is we need to make an appointment. And the wonderful thing about appointments, if you want to be obstructive, is that appointments give you a whole load of control that an online application process doesn't. An online application process is, in theory, available 24/7. Appointments give you an opportunity to mess people around. So as I'm reading this, I am going to have to agree to go to a particular location at a particular time. It is removing any sense of control that I have, making me feel much more anxious. And of course, it's perfectly possible to offer me something that is several days out or in a location I can't easily get to. Really smart way of, to you coin a phrase, taking back control. Once I've done all of those things, the next step, it tells me, is that I can approach the visa application center. And I think it's really important to pay attention to the language here, because it doesn't say go to the visa application center. It says approach. I need to feel like I'm a supplicant individual begging for mercy at this center. I need to approach it. I can't just go there. Very powerful use of language. So I've got myself into a state. I know exactly what I need to do. And then it presents me with one further thing that actually I need to do before I do any of these things. So I've been lulled into a false sense of security, and then I have to dial a number. So let's just dial that number, assuming, of course, that I have the ability to dial internationally. I have enough battery on my phone, and so on and so forth. But let's assume that I can make that call, and let's see what happens when I dial it.
Ukraine helpline.
Here we go.
Please be aware this number is not a free phone number.
Good call. Charge people.
For our free phone number, please redial 0808 164 8810, or you can continue to hear the options to...
Now notice the very clever trick there of reading out the phone number that's the free phone number in a manner that makes it impossible to note down, because what they did is they grouped the digits in different ways. So for the first bit of the number, it's in pairs. Then they created a triple digit number and then individual digits at the end, deliberately designed to make it difficult to write down, assuming, of course, that I have a pen and a piece of paper. And therein lies the very simple masterclass behind this poster, which is, if you want to make things incredibly difficult, here are some of the tips that you can follow. One point I would critique about this poster that I think is not well thought through is the QR code. If you want people to do something easily, add a QR code. Would have been much more effective if they'd had a long and complicated URL. But other than that, It's a prime example of how to create a hostile compliance environment, pretending that you want to be helpful to people, but in practice, making it as difficult as possible.